Breathe in, breathe out, and then give in. Let go and give in to your true nature. Really, it's easier, believe me. Just accept it. You're so naturally feminine anyway, in every way. For God's sake, I thought you only came out at night. Femininity, what is it? Do I want it? If so, how? Do I exude it? This is a topic that I want to talk to you about today. As myself, a femme aspiring queen, what does femininity mean to me? How do I get to a place where I can be and feel feminine as a trans woman / femme presenting person? So, make yourself at home, take your clothes off, and I shall begin. Part 1. What is femme? First of all, I want to preface this with the fact that this is not a prescriptive video. I'm not saying that there's one way to be femme and that you need to be femme necessarily if you're a trans woman, or if you're any kind of woman for that matter. However, if you're a man, please be femme. If not for your own sake, then for me, love a femme man. No, I just want this video to be a love letter to femme and how I came to accept myself as a feminine person. And maybe it can help others accept themselves or see themselves, and might help you to explore more modes of expression and to find one that suits you best. So without further ado, if you're sitting comfortably, I shall begin. I think that one's own understanding of femininity is a very personal thing. It's something that you create and contend with over the course of your life. There is no singular femininity that can be pointed to as the end-all or be-all of femininity. It depends on so many things. It depends on culture, where you come from societally, geographically, politically, and even just your own personal tastes. I have a Pinterest board that's called Be Her, which just has the vibes of femmes that I would like to somehow embody or strive towards. It's full up with loads of vintage girlies, surprise, surprise, Jane Birkin, Twiggy, Candy Darling. I find that there's a kind of effortlessness in the femininity that I enjoy. There's a contradiction at the heart of it because it's at once effortless and yet still feels artificial and like work has gone into it in some way. Like you can tell the person is somewhat trying, but at the same time, it just comes easily to them. And when it becomes a bit too much, then it risks becoming camp, which is not a bad thing. I love myself a bit of camp, but it is rare that successfully the two can coincide, in my opinion, the femme and the camp, though it can be done, as shown by Candy Darling in the hilarious film Woman in Revolt from 1971.
Darling, how are you, baby? Jackie, cute ass. She took the money and spent it. She spent it on gigolos from the East Village other. And I'm just beside myself over it. I think it's the most disgusting thing that I've ever heard of.
It's one of my favourite trans movies. It actually starred trans women, which is something that apparently we still struggle with today. If you have a bit of an edgy sense of humour and can appreciate a historical piece, then I would definitely recommend it. It always gives me goosebumps just seeing footage of trans women that goes way back. And most of it's improvised, it's just hysterical. You really get a sense of how people in the community talked back then. But doesn't aspiring to these kinds of aesthetics just reinforce misogyny and patriarchy? Being a woman isn't about having pretty hair or wearing frilly knickers, you know. Being a woman is about shared pain that only us real women can understand. No, it doesn't, darling, because femininity is not an inherently bad thing. That's what the patriarchy would have you believe. But yeah, look, if you don't like wearing frilly panties, no one's going to force you to wear frilly panties. I'm not going to force you to wear frilly panties, unless you want me to force you to wear frilly panties. But don't you tell me not to wear them, because you know who else used to tell me not to wear frilly panties? My father. And he is not what you could describe as a feminist, that's for sure. So there you go, you have the same arguments as a 50-year-old misogynist, and I applaud thee. Quote, I think that reinventing femininity is what being femme really is. It means taking things that you appreciate from historical feminine traits and to repackage them. Gomez from Fishes in a Pond. Repackaging, taking what you will from the dressing up box that is culture, especially in a lesbian context where no one could argue that you're doing it for male attention. Femme as a chosen queer identity, as a conscious construction to reclaim femininity. I see myself as a collector. I saw a really good YouTube video about femme lesbians, and it had some really interesting moments, and I really recommend it.
In Ulrika Dahl and Del Lagere's Volcanos book, Femmes of Power, they interview a trans woman who describes that femme as a gender identity was what made her take the step into transitioning. She, Josephine, says that femme, like any other queer identification, comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's not the identity that unites us, but the issues that we face. We all have to deal with the problem of gender, and our common issues include why the world at large sees femininity as something inherently lesser and disempowering. Here, Josephine touches upon something very relevant to many femmes, femmephobia.
Because that's what it all comes down to. Whether it be a misogynistic man saying, "Oh, well, how do you expect anyone to take you seriously dressed like that?" Or whether it be a so-called feminist who is somewhat repulsed by femininity. I mean, whose side are you on anyway? Makes me want to get all 90s girl power on your ass. You know, Spice Girl style.
This is about girl power. This is not about picking up guys. This is about girl power.
Have you got girl power, Eden?
Bimbo feminism. Because no one is ever going to convince me again that femininity is lower and somewhat embarrassing. No one is ever going to convince me again that it is a bad thing to be feminine. As a trans woman especially, we are often highly aware of the flack that we get just for declaring ourselves woman, the pressure that gets put on us, and how, no matter how hard we try, never seem to get it right in the eyes of some people. If we're not feminine enough, then we're not trying hard, and therefore should expect no respect and should expect to be misgendered at every turn, even if we ask not to be. And if we are feminine, then we're accused of being just a misogynistic male fantasy of what a woman is supposed to be. This fantasy I'm serving is fully cooked up by a female, my darling. It is fully cooked by me. I mean, sometimes we can think that this is just online and that in the real world it's better, and that is true. But I do have some examples of, real world experiences that happened to me that reinforced these thoughts. For example, one time early in my transition, I got misgendered at work and I was upset about it. One of my colleagues said to me, "Well, you are wearing trousers." I was wearing makeup too. On the other end of the spectrum, a few months ago, I talked to a distant family member, hopefully for the last time. And whilst we were talking, I was just playing with my hair. I'm not used to having so much hair. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but I don't know what to do with my hands. They're flying about everywhere all the time. So yeah, I was just playing with my hair when we were talking on Skype. What is the year? I am such a boomer. We were talking on video chat and she said to me, "There's more to being a woman than just having pretty hair." I mean, lucky for her though, because that hair is fine. And then just a few minutes later, she said, "There's more to being a woman than being bitchy." She said it in the most bitchy way. It was comical. The cognitive dissonance was off the charts. What I'm trying to say is that there can be all this fear of, "Oh, I don't want to do too much. Oh, but I don't want to do too little either." It can be paralyzing. It can really stop you from exploring and presenting yourself in the way that you truly authentically want to, because you're always overthinking and second guessing, especially in your first few years of transitioning. It does get easier as time goes on. You learn what you like and what you don't like. Maybe you want to transition and dress in a butch way or a masculine way. And yeah, do that. That's hot. Or maybe you want to transition and be more traditionally feminine and try and present yourself in a femme way. In which case I say, come on, sister, join me. Welcome. As a trans woman, we have a golden opportunity. Every woman has to create herself. But lots of cis women, especially if they're straight, get their femininity, their womanhood, pre-delivered, factory setting to them and pushed upon them during childhood and adolescence. Which is why they sometimes feel that they've been lumped with a baggage that they never even asked for in the first place. Something that they never even wanted particularly. And then they have to realise that and deconstruct that. As the trans ally Simone de Beauvoir said, we are not born women, we become women. And so in our case, we literally start from scratch. We have to desperately create our own femininity, our own identity. And so this gives a kind of freedom in which we can really pick and choose things that we like and that we don't like. We reject and deconstruct our factory preset masculinity that was delivered to us on our door. We reject that load that was lumped on us, and we construct the girl of our f***ing dreams. One fine day, an emotional whirl, you'll be good to yourself, and you'll come and join the girls. Don't look that one up. So, part two, giving in to femininity. So, femininity didn't always come easy to me. When I first came out, I said to my partner of the time, yeah, I think I'm going to be butch. To which they burst out laughing. They were like, you, a butch? Okay. I can be butch if I wanted to be. Maybe it wasn't that femininity didn't come easy to me, but the fact that at the beginning of transition, being perceived as a woman and being a feminine woman on top of that just seemed so out of reach. It seemed like a lofty dream, and so it seemed unattainable, but being a bit butch maybe felt a bit more attainable to a little twink with a pixie cut. You know, the classic, is it a twink, is it a butch, don't know, don't really care. That, and the fact that I had been actively repressing my femininity for years at that point, because like all natural born femmes who were assigned male at birth, I found out soon that I had to hide that part of myself in mannerisms, in how you talk, in crying, all the social formatting that is put on little boys, not to be little girls, like not to be feminine. And so I tried to clean up my act. I tried to stop, with the mannerisms, tried to stop with the crying. It was more or less successful depending on who you ask. Could never really get a hang of the crying. So yeah, I don't feel that it's accurate to say that I changed myself in order to make myself more feminine. It's more the opposite. I originally changed myself in order to make myself appear more masculine before I realised, I can just be trans and it doesn't matter anymore. And during the time where I was actively trying to be masculine and repressing the feminine side of myself, it really drained me as the years went on. A great film I saw, The TV Glow, goes into great depth about just how living an existence that isn't in accordance with your truth can drain you and grate you over the years. To present in a masculine way required a lot of work, but this wasn't true the other way round. As soon as I, stopped and let myself be and present how I wanted to be, it was more like giving in, learning to no longer judge myself for how I moved or how I may talk, and just let myself be who I wanted to be. And who I wanted to be and present as was a feminine woman. And it's a little bit chicken and eggy, as they say, because it's hard to know which one came first. Am I aspiring to be feminine because I like that aesthetically? But then again, I'm doing that because I naturally like it. It's a bit of the serpent eating its own tail. You don't know where the beginning is, really. And you would think that when you realise that you're trans and start transitioning, that you automatically would just accept that you want to be ultra femme too. But it doesn't always work like that, because when you're trans femme, as I said before, you're fed so much transphobia from the outside world that you don't want to be too femme, you don't want to be too masculine, and as well, you're starting your transition, you don't even know how to dress, and you've got to go out in the street and people are probably going to look at you, and it's a lot transitioning as a trans feminine person because, among other factors, but it is still a lot more acceptable for a feminine body to wear masculine attire than it is for a masculine body to wear feminine attire. And yeah, so you can still end up repressing certain parts of yourself and saying to yourself, well, I might be transgendered, but I'm not one of those transgenders. I'm not going to be a caricature of what a woman is. I used to be genuinely scared of being a caricature of what a woman is. And one day I saw an old lady at the bus stop. She got her little portable makeup thing out and was looking at herself and touching up her makeup, and the way she stood and everything about her was ultra femme, and she just looked like a drag queen. And I was like, but she's like, sis, throw the rule book out. You can do what you like. Some cis women push it too far and become camp. Why can't you? It took me just over a year of medically transitioning, losing a partner, and an ecstasy experience in order for me to finally admit to myself, I think I want to be really femme, and then I think I want to be hyper femme. I suppose I should explain that last bit. I'm going to talk about a magical experience, scary experience. So the year is 2023, and I'm not doing too hot. Take my socks off. I'm impulsive. So the year is 2023, and I'm not doing too hot. I was meant to go on holiday with my ex-partner, but they broke up with me the week before, and so they went and I was left alone in my apartment. I mean, they'd been contemplating it for a while, but I never really thought it was going to happen. I'm really good at denial. I've got years of experience. So yeah, I was alone in my flat. Breakups are really hard, especially this one. I mean, like, to be honest, my heart would have been destroyed either way. You know, they did their best, you know, no shade to them. Destroyed. I'm such a drama queen. I mean, it's true though. It really is true, you know. It feels like this. But yeah, I was destroyed, alone in my flat, not in the good way. And I posted a little story on my Instagram for my close friends. And it was me with a bottle of Venus wine, which is meant to be symbolic because when I started the relationship, I was a little skinny twiglet of a guy. And when I ended the relationship, I was now a lovely young lady, a Venus. And I put like a text over it saying like, you know, just got dumped, my heart's broken. And a friend of mine messaged me saying, oh, I got dumped too. I hope you're doing okay. I'm not doing too hot either. And so I messaged them back and said, I really want to get out of my city. You know, if you're not doing anything, I can come and visit you, and we can grieve together. And they accepted, and so I went off to the big city, Paris. So I go to Paris for 4 to 5 days. When I'm in Paris, I also reconnect with another old friend. Let's call him Pedro. So I hang out with these guys for a bit, and one of the nights, Pedro takes me to an open air queer techno party, like a kind of rave thing in Paris. So that's what we do, and we go and we dance. And in the early hours of the morning, I'm starting to feel a bit tired, but I want to just keep on dancing all night. And so I agree to, you know, have a little experience. I get the chance to try a bit of E. And you know, I'm a trans woman. I'll never pass up the chance to try a bit of E. Not that kind of E. I take this kind of E every day. And to be honest, it was a bit of an F-it moment, because I don't think I'm being melodramatic when I say, you know, I'm scared of drugs. It seems like a good thing to be scared of. To be honest, I was in a bit of a fuck it, I don't care if I live or I die kind of mindset, which is very sad, but it's what kind of pushed me past my natural hypochondriac kind of nature, because I'm not really a party girl, even less so this year. I haven't drunk in ages. Anyway, so I say fuck it and I take half a pill, and after about 45 minutes or so, Pedro's getting a bit fidgety, going, oh, I hope we didn't get sold shit. We're on a balcony kind of up overlooking the people dancing, and just at that moment, as I'm overlooking, it starts to hit, and I start whooping and smiling. I just start grinning as this kind of artificial happiness starts hitting me like a truck. Pedro looks at me smiling like a maniac and goes, oh, tu me rassures. Oh, that's reassuring. Then I say, I want to dance. And so we go and dance, and it is the best dancing ever. I feel great. And I say to this guy who is accompanying us, I want to say my pronouns, because I'm such a woke queen. And he goes, yeah, go for it, go for it. He was the guy that was kind of looking after us, like more experienced, and he was a friend of Pedro's, and he was looking after me during my first trip. And so I start saying it, I start going, L, 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 to the techno beat, L, 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 L. And at one point I start spiraling a bit, and I start saying, it's she, not he, it's madame, not monsieur, and I start going down a dark path, but he like reassures me and brings me back to a light path, and it's, you know, he was a godsend on this trip. Thank you very much. I can't remember your name. Thank you. Somewhere during this evening, I start sticking my hands out like a little doll, like a little penguin or Barbie doll. In my head, I was like a doll. I was a Barbie doll. And I like become plastic, in my head, like I'm a plastic. I was wearing like a very small blue crop top and very tight blue fitted jeans. And, you know, it was Barbie summer and we'd actually been to see Barbie the night before. So that was in my head. And, you know, people started seeing me and saying, oh, it's Barbie. I think that happened once or twice. In my head, it happened like a million times, but I don't know. People started noticing that I was a dolly. You know, when I was 12, I used to always cross-dress a lot in my room. And when I did, I would be just so over the top in my mannerisms. And I think it's because I was controlling them everywhere else that I went. And so this was like my outlet when I was in my space. And it was a bit like that. It was so over the top. And yes, I became this hyper femme doll for an evening. So yeah, we party till the sun comes up. Very good evening. Had a great time. Anyway, this is a super long tangent. But what I want to say is that I had an epiphany that night. Whilst talking to Pedro the next day, I said it was a surprisingly philosophical experience. Like, I really felt that I learned something on a molecular level. I know it sounds a bit hippy-dippy, but he was like, yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I don't do it very often, because it really shakes you up. By the way, I just want to assert in here, don't do drugs, kids. The come down was horrible. I was really anxious. I was seeing ghosts around me, like phantoms walking around me all night, all day as I slept. And I was really anxious and paranoid for a couple of weeks afterwards. I mean, of course, the breakup didn't help, but when I got back to my city, I did not feel good. I felt so low, and I think it's because apparently you use up all of your endorphins in one go with E. And so I vowed that I would never do it again. I didn't know if it was going to last forever. I was scared it was going to last forever. Luckily, it only lasted about a week. The dancing was good, but I don't know if it was worth it. But yes, I had an epiphany that I wanted to be very feminine. I wanted to go all the way. I wanted to give in and, you know, stop fighting it. So for better or for worse, I had that experience. And I decided I was going to be what I want to be. So yeah, I came back to my city, and after a week or so of the come down, which was horrible, I started doing myself up all the time, every day. I'd wear makeup, I would get dressed well, even just to go to the supermarket. This was a symptom of the breakup and wanting to look good constantly, just in case I happened to run into them. But it was also a ritual that kind of helped me through a very dark time and did mean that I progressed very quickly in achieving the aura that I wanted to. So, how to be feminine for trans women? That's what this video was meant to be about, wasn't it? Yes. So, now I'm going to answer it. Number 1. Do you even want to be feminine? That's the kind of thing that I've been trying to get across throughout this video. Like, if it feels really so hard, if it hurts you, if you don't like dressing like that, if it feels like you're forcing yourself and it doesn't feel right, then maybe you should have a deep talk with yourself on whether you really want to be feminine or whether you just feel like there's a lot of social pressure being put on you to behave in a certain way. And if that is the case, then you need to find out what you authentically want to be. 2, if it feels unattainable because it feels so far away, or if when you put on the clothes you're uncomfortable because they don't look on you how you'd want them to look, then I'd say that's normal if you're at the beginning. Take things slow, take things step by step, you know, chip things off, and eventually day by day, month by month, year by year, you will get there. It just takes a bit of time. In the meantime, experiment with clothing, you know, get your eyebrows done. I had a friend that did wonders for her. Try and find some clothes that you enjoy wearing. Dysphoria, bulletproof clothes. I have a black dress that someone gave me, and I wear it every week, and I have done for like a year and a half. I know it's my dysphoria proof dress that I like the way it looks every time I wear it. 3, create your own femininity. This is an intimate and subjective thing, so find out what it means to you. I'm really not down with the hip people at the moment. I live in the past. Like, my femininity is Twiggy and Sylvie Vartan. But you know, yours might be, trying to think of a modern person who's famous, Sabrina Carpenter. I literally don't my mind's gone blank. I have no modern She's practically the same as this person, Sabrina Carpenter. Can I think of anyone who's not blonde? No, I'm a blonde. I can only think of blonde things. So anyway, to conclude, I hang out with a lot of dolls or trans women or T-girls. You know what I mean. And in my experience, just be yourself. I know it sounds silly, and it's a phrase that has been repeated to the point of echolalia by this point, but it's true. Be femme, be butch, be high femme, be low femme, be a femme boy, whatever the hell you might be, and God knows what you might be if you've made it to the end of this disjointed video. Hello. Anyway, this has been a very chaotic video, or at least I feel like it has been. Maybe in editing I will make it make sense. This has been my love letter to femininity and to carving out a feminine place in the world. Thanks for watching. Go listen to my music. Thanks to the very intimate and exclusive people that support me on Patreon, and thanks to everyone who's bought a single and listened to my music recently. It really means a lot. I love making music, I love making these videos, and to have your support really encourages me to do more. With all that said, T-girl